Morning, everyone. Let's huddle together for a moment. I want to share with you an idea. So just sit back and think for a second. Huddle to fight the cold machine. Morning. Huddle to fight the cold machine. Okay, there's different ways you could read that. First, you have an image of a huddle, and then this directive maybe to fight the cold machine. To fight the cold, are you huddling to fight the cold, or are we talking about two different things? What's the difference? If you could hook yourself up to a machine that you'll, good morning, if you could hook yourself up to a machine that you'd ever be happy. I mean, we'll eventually get there. You just plug in your neurons to some like pleasure box, and or you'll go into a matrix and have a good life. You'll program yourself for a good life. You'll be in a hologram world for the rest of your life, and you just for $1 million a year. One day we'll get there, or you'll take some pill and you'll feel good, and it will like make you sell your soul or something like that. Like the flip side, obviously, who wouldn't take such a pill? There's no side effects. Have a good life. So what's the difference between our world, which I say, on the basis of a teaching that Rabbi Merkur posted, I think it was from the Alter Rebbe, that God creates a drama for us. What's the difference between that drama and the cold machine's drama? Cold machine, maybe it's fun, it's great, yeah, but it's cold. There's nothing behind it. You're not connecting. So you could be involved with the world and not really have any real connections to the creator or the whereas ours is a huddle. We're like one with God in this. It's not just a random pattern in your life that unfolds before your eyes, like some kind of matrix that you're sent in. But your every moment experience is huddling with God. You're having some kind of interaction with God, and your role in it is how are you going to respond to what God gives you? Are you going to be? Are you like spiteful? Lots of people have that. Because of this, I can't love God anymore. People have that attitude. But it's a relationship. Eventually you have to come back to the source, right? You're getting your food and water and everything, your health from God. So you have to come back to the table and renegotiate. So our matrix, it's cold machine versus our matrix. Our matrix is a matrix where we know that the one who is directing the story, the one who's interacting with us in every single detail of our life, that's actually something that's a real relationship. It's not just to a machine. It's not just to a pleasure box. It's a meaningful relationship. It's a struggle and recognition that struggle is precious to God, and it's a means of learning about a better relationship with God. Reach out to your friends. Right, so that's always the premise. To be able to connect to God, you have to be a real person. That's my next thought. You're one step ahead of me. So I had this thought. Hands holding dandelions. Roar. How do you read that one? Hands holding. I wanted to give the image of two people holding hands in the park. Sister and brother. Brother and brother. They do that too when they're really young. It's cute. So you're holding hands, or you're holding dandelions in your hands. And what kind of life of wonderment were you when you were a child? And dandelions were something that amused you, or you were curious about a field of dandelions. You didn't see them as weeds. You saw them as like sunshine. So did the dandelions, are they lions that roar? Are they sunshine? Are you that naive and childlike to be able to appreciate the simplicity of life and the surroundings that God puts us in? And do we recognize that's what God is giving us? So like try to find a way to like it, because it's a really important person that's giving it to you. Okay, let me see what you're saying here. That will break you out of the matrix. The other will break you out. That will break you out of the matrix. The other will break you out. The breaking out of the matrix is, in our world, in the real world, it means to recognize that God is the designer of our experience. That's what I mean to say. You don't need to be broken out of it. The breaking out of it is realizing that it's not separate from the design. It's a cold machine, has nothing to do with the design, doesn't care. Or you have a God that's intimately connected with and mindful of every experience you go through in the environment that he's creating for you every second. Which brings to the whole idea why we pay so much attention to creation ex nihilo. Genesis happens every single moment. The Baal Shem Tov insists, the Alter Rebbe insists, it has to be that way. Why not? The philosophers say it could have been a world, yeah, he created it and it stays on forever. I think Chassidus says that, yeah, it could be, but God didn't want it that way because he's meant to teach. Okay, the Alter Rebbe writes in Tanya that it's like God made nature, and nature needs to be sustained by a constant flow of creation. Just like a wall of water standing up needs to be blown by wind for the water to have a means to be like stand. Okay, I don't know if it was actually. It's a bit complicated. I got to get my head into that. There's a long sikh of the Rebbe on this. It will be a bit too much right now. But the idea of creation has to be constant, like the wind blowing water. It has to be every second. So what's the point of that? Why? So time becomes such an important, fundamental idea in Chassidus. And specifically this notion of how do we view time. And I've spoken about this at length, and I might get a touch on it a bit, but here it's a little different context a bit. The importance of God creating every second, every minute, every instance, means that you have the ability to recreate yourself every moment. It's a brand new world every instance, and I only have the responsibility to conquer that world right now. I could be whoever I want right now. I could attain that. That's the power of Bechira. Rambam writes at length about the importance of being able to have free choice. What that means, it's the ability to do that, to recognize, since God creates the world every second, he creates me anew every second, and I could be the best me. I don't have to have any baggage. I don't have to have any fear. Live right now with all that unfolding in the most beautiful way. It's the recognition that the now is the future, which is great. And why is it great? Because it's the past. And what's the past? Past was you and God, nothing else. You're in a private room with God, just eating grapes. My son, who was like really well adjusted and mature, went on a fit one time. Buy grapes! Buy grapes! I think it was Shabbos even. Or maybe, I don't know. It was Erev Shabbos and I didn't have time to go out and buy grapes. But he went crazy. He couldn't stop saying that. I think I ran out to get him grapes. I don't know. I'm that kind of guy. One moose, two moose, eat you alive. That's my one-line haiku, because you could read that a few ways, but this is my idea of one moose and not two meese or meesen or mises, but moose. That if a moose steps into your beer talk, firstly say l'chaim with him. In your beer rant, a moose comes into it. Don't worry, it's one moose, two moose, eat you alive. So it's you telling the moose, and then all the moose in. I'm gonna eat you alive, I'm gonna eat you alive, and what does that mean? God forbid to eat someone up. It means I'm going to recognize that you have a different opinion than me, and I respect you. I'm gonna eat you alive when it comes to you trying to impose any views on me. So you could read it, one moose, two moose, eat you alive. Finally free yourself from them being eaten by the mooses, and instead you could be alive and say, I'm just going to free myself from that. Because if I respect someone as an advisor, that's essentially an extension of me. So who would I give that position to? It's a question I think that you have to ask. Which voices do you just like say, that one is a moose, I'm going to eat him alive, I'm going to say thank you very much and walk the other way? Or who do you embrace? So I would say, if you really want to trust someone, you have to see such integrity with them that it's reflected in every area. So you see patterns in people, and that reflects their true character. Patterns are your character. It's very hard to change your character. So your past is a trail and a mark and an impression, good morning, of your character. You don't have it's like you want to analyze handwriting? Look at someone's past. You'll see what character they are. You could trace a pattern. You could be like the annals of the stock market. It's going up, up, up. The trend line is this way. Good morning, Yosef Stein. I don't know where you are right now. I hope you're doing good, whatever you're doing. One moose, two moose, eat you alive. There's my words of wisdom to you, Yosef Stein. Good morning. You're like, unga gunga galunga. Is that your words of wisdom? Do people learn, like, have a matrix of like this random wisdom they're going to accept? I see a lot of elevated posts going on these days. People trying to focus on inspiring messages and positivity. So I want to talk about positivity. I'm going to put away my iPad for a second, or maybe I'll just leave it on, because why not? Waste batteries. Live it up. This is the life. We would say on Canoe Trip, we'd sit in a hammock and we'd say, this is the life. So, what's Chayla doing? She's doing, this is the life. Or like we keep on asking each other, is this is the life, when you're like swimming in the water in the middle of secluded nature? This is the life. Everyone has their this is the life. What's your life? When did dandelions roar? You hear the lions within the dandelions. The roar is a bit more of a chur thing. Children don't roar so much. They don't really do that so much. Maybe when they're trying to like beat the other guy up. But out of exhilaration, they'll be cheering. It's that type of roaring, I guess. That is the type of roaring, cheering. Yeah, we won. I have some really interesting. Okay, someone's trying to call me and sell me duct cleaning. Okay. They won't leave me alone. Do they know something about my ducks that I don't know? All my ducks are in order. They're all in line, right? Eat you alive, ducks. Okay, poem number 2. So the Rebbe associates this concept of continual ex nihilo creation. That every moment God's creating you and the whole world around you, which is all relevant to what we said. I was going to talk about Chayas, but that's Chayelo. But I just want to connect it with one thing. This is probably more of a connecting link to what I want to get to, which is Chayas. Ha'esh ha'elaki, it says, Halayhet ba'avas Yisrael. It's burning with love of another person. Ha'esh ha'elaki, a godly fire burning. That's who is this story about again? The Mitzvah Rebbe. That's why he had self-sacrifice to try and advise people. There's a worthy advisor. Why don't you look what the Mitzvah Rebbe has to say about life? He says very wise things. He's a wise person. He's a person worthy of having your ear. Who do we give ear to? Gave good face. Shekol nakuda it's just a funny way of expression. Shekol nakuda bezmanim makam kshura ima nakuda klalish shekelel's kol mitzias bezmanim makam. How could it be that you have general days throughout the year? You have from Chai Elul on, guys. It's the life and vitality of Elul, whereby you sort of correct everything for a whole month of the year before. So the Chai Elul corresponds to Tishrei, the first month, the fundamental, the head of the year. So everything's dependent on your Tishrei. And Chai Elul is the correction for that. So where does it get the power to be a correction for an entire month? Isn't time a unit that applies to like a certain duration? How can you tell me this is going to affect my past and correct it and at a certain time? What is the connection here? So God creates not only space every second. We always think of creation about space, but he creates time also. And therefore, since every moment contains all moments together, because God's creating the entirety of creation, past, present, and future at once, all the time. So you can only experience it as a moment, but in that moment you have to know it contains the future and the past in that order, always. I don't know why. That's the way the Rebbe said it. So that gives you the capacity to recognize that there's a certain relationship between instances of time. You have a day, that equals a month. How could it be? Because a day, a moment, contains infinity within it. So it's also that month. But why specifically that month? I don't know. You gotta study metaphysics or something like that to know all the details of that. Which we're slowly working on that, right? It's a 120-year process. You know, try and have ideas to talk about things that are just ideas. I mean, have the language to talk about things that are ideas. Well, it's the Kabbalah, maybe. It's the Kabbalah. It's like very clear what they're getting at. And why they have to speak in the way they do. To talk about things that resonate, you have to be alive. You have to see that dandelions are not weeds. They're lions that roar. You have to be childlike enough. Zelig is here watching. He says, hello, Rabbi. Hello, Rabbi Zelig. Good morning to you, too. So so we got enough about that, right? So he speaks about the power of tshuva. It's the point of God creating ex nihilo all the time, is that you have the ability now to do tshuva. And tshuva has this model of being instantaneous, which is why it says in the Zayar, it says that tshuva is b'shaita chado u'b'riga chado. It's in one moment, in one instance. That's what tshuva is. Tshuva, you think, oh, I'm going to bury my head in the sand and like put ashes on my tuchus for like a year, and that will be my tshuva. No, it's one moment. You just like, I'm new now. God created this world anew. I'm new. I'm a different person. It's b'shaita chada v'riga chada. Okay, look at the story of Rabbi Eliezer ben Dordaya. If you screwed up for so long, you could just, that's like, seems unfair. Shouldn't it be mida keneged mida, perfect balance in the universe? You screwed up for 5 years, it should take you 5 years to do tshuva. Why should it be this imbalance? That to me is the symbol of Menorah, deciding for favor, the angles, a balance that's an imbalance. Look at the golden section, look that up, what that is. So it goes on about the metaphysics that one moment contains all of time. And it says now about Chayas. It says, even though the vitality is infinitely higher than your body, there's life and then there's your body, because bodies aren't inherently alive. They require the soul to be present in it for it to be alive. So even though the life force itself is infinitely greater than the body, which is like a dead rock, nevertheless, that infinitely greater thing permeates that corporeal mass, which is the physical body that you're sitting in right now, right? We have skin and all that. It's like, where is that? Where is it on? It's on your soul. Your soul's swimming in it, okay? Some people, like, you don't want to feel that way. So you have a coffee in the morning and you stabilize your focus. But your consciousness is a level of your soul. So you don't have to say it's such a mystical thing. No, I'm talking about your thought. How close are you to your own thought? I shouldn't even ask that question. So the Rebbe says, "Chayas hu inyan atzmi." It's an essential thing. Why do I care so much about chayas? Firstly, because the Rebbe speaks about it like every day. It's the key to everything is chayas. But you know what? I've probably mentioned once at least. I was very well behaved on Purim this year. Okay? Don't hold it against me. I got worse as the night grew on. But when I had guests, I was trying to keep myself not too inebriated, because why should I make an idiot of myself in front of guests? What would be the point of that? So I tried to be like a shaliach, normal guy. An important guest there. And afterwards I learned, even though I tried to be really normal, learned that they would criticize me for being too impassioned. I don't know any other word to describe it, even though that's like a positive thing usually. I want to give you an image of impassioned. After Tafshin Nun Base's Chav Zayin other stroke, the Rebbe, they would have rallies to give chayas to the Rebbe. Here we're talking about chayas. The Rebbe said himself in the heart attack of Lamed Ches, the Rebbe said that when the Chassidim are singing and dancing and celebrating, expecting something good to happen, that gives chayas to the Rebbe. The Rebbe is the chayas of the Chassidim. Moshe Rabbeinu has all this power because of it, the Jewish people. He lost it when they sinned. He lost his strength. He couldn't hold the tablets. He was too weak. So if you're impassioned, how is that interpreted as negative? If you're not yelling in someone's ear, if you're not spitting at someone when you're talking, if you're not imposing on them and it's not your party, okay, all these things, check marks on all of them, right? What is wrong with being passionate? Oh, I wanted to give this illustration. So in that time, there were rallies and people were talking about the health of the Rebbe and they were passionate. They were, and Mashiach was about to come and people wanted to bring Mashiach, so they were really impassioned when they spoke, and I had never seen this before. I go to lectures with professors, they sit there with their cardigans and they'd or they'd sweat coming from tennis that they had played on campus, literally, and they come there and teach. And it was they wouldn't probably start waving their arms and gesticulating and being all excited. Some of them were a bit impassioned, but fine, because they care about their topics. But they weren't it was their life. It was their life, but it still wasn't their not embarrassed to just go crazy and dance because of it, or people were like that then. So with Dr. Block, Alav Shalom, he would translate for the people, the mushboim, the people that came to the Chabad house. He would be translating these broadcasts. There was going to be a first Mishnah class that this guy in the Huddle house wanted to do, and the Dr. Block stopped the class, or he wanted to stop. I don't know what happened exactly. They got in a fight. How can you stop a class to watch? And then Dr. Block would say, "This is a video of the Rebbe or a rally about the Rebbe. This is happening live at 770. It's a satellite broadcast. Come on, you have to see this." The other guy was very sincere about this. Is a time we designated to learn Torah. He was different. He's not Chabad quite. Maybe a little bit friends of Chabad, or Rebbe doesn't. Oh, the Rebbe does like that expression. Okay, so he would be translating what they're saying, because they're saying in Yiddish mostly, or a lot of words in Yiddish. But when he went into English and he kept talking English, Dr. Block didn't change his thing. He kept on translating the English into English, and so it was an echo. It was pretty cool, but reinterpreted by a professor of philosophy instantly. So that was really cute. So, but that's an idea. I'm just giving you an image of when people care about a message, they speak in passion. And a Purim party, if that's not a venue to do that, I don't know. That's a bit sad, I think, that people are so reserved that they can't have someone stand on a chair once in a while and say something that's important to them. Okay, if someone's talking about we got to do the revolution of the alien and bring in the aliens into our world, or the opposite, we have to fear, and he gets up on a chair in your house doing that, please don't ever let that guy in your house again. Okay, I do. Yes, I have people not too far off from that. Sometimes they go on rants that seem at that level. But yeah, I like them. I always find some way to these are smart people. Often people that are a bit eccentric, let's say, are very smart. I would say most of the people like that I know are very smart. I can think of a few others, but that's not really okay. You have a spectrum. You have extremes mostly. It's not like the average guy that's a bit not normal. It's either you're really missing some things, or you have too many things to control. So the idea of chayas to me is very important, because I want to see the world as dandelions and not just weeds. I want to roar through life. I want to enjoy life. I want to live life. And, you need a lot of resources to really express that. So God should bless everyone with whatever they're passionate about. Hopefully it's something worthy. They should be blessed with abundance, and so they have the resources to be able to do it. And I say this to myself too, because I have visions, I have plans, I have dreams. I want to do a lot. So I want people to join with me. I met with someone recently, and he admitted that this is not my dream. This is not yours. But to do what you're talking about requires that I have to immerse myself in that. So I have to really, if I'm going to really throw myself into something, I want to really believe in it. And this is not my vision. This is yours. So I was really, I felt like maybe I didn't give over my vision with enough zeal, which I did. I gave a lot of zeal. And then you have to wonder, is this crazy guy speaking about aliens to someone? You have to have a little bit of that sensitivity, even though we believe that our matrix is the true matrix and yours is the false matrix. Right? I have the true understanding. The meaning of life is I'm privy to that, and yours I disagree with. It's still a bit early, but I might stop here. I had one other thing. I actually had a lot of other things. Yeah, well, not too much more. Oh, yes. This is the story, because I mentioned this before, the story about the Mittler Rebbe. I'll just kick back and read a story. This is a fascinating story. This shows you, if you love somebody and you really know that you're right, what you have to be willing to do. You have to have self-sacrifice to be able to try and inspire other people. So this is what it's all about. It's this chayas, and we're going to actually use really beautiful expressions like ha'esh eloki haloyhet ba'avas Yisrael, the godly fire that burns with love of a fellow Jew. There's some anonymous in our lexicon. So it says this is the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, the Rebbe's father-in-law, speaking about. He mentions a story about the Mittler Rebbe. So it's known in stories, many stories about the Mittler Rebbe, that he would be very concerned about the spiritual needs of the Chassidim. And it really pains him when he saw that they needed more help. So in one of his sichos, one of his conversations for bringing, okay, he's talking to the Chassidim. The Mittler Rebbe was before everybody. The Ziknei Chassidim, Harishaim, the elder Chassidim of his fathers, the Alter Rebbe. So this is the new Rebbe, the son, taking over an elderly, very experienced, very confident group of Chassidim that worked their whole lives on developing themselves, and they were very accomplished people. And the Mittler Rebbe spoke b'hisrakshus gdela, with great fire. Hisrakshus means he was very effective, very animated. Dvarim yitzim elavavai, words that emitted from his heart, hakadosh, his holy heart. B'shvichas hanefesh mamish, pouring out his soul literally. But regarding what was on his mind, what did he care so much about? If the Raptors are going to win, if even things to do with important political events, but what bothered him? What was really on his mind that got him so riled up that we're using such terms? These are the Frierdiker Rebbe's words describing it. He says here the term that's not Lashon Guzma. Ein ze Lashon Guzma, later it says. I'm not exaggerating. So what was bothering him so much? Patient prayer. the importance of serving God through davening. So you want to have a real relationship with Hashem, so praise Him. He creates you. He gives you health. Why would you not praise Him? You praise the Raptors when they win. You're dancing on the street. Aren't you affected by the one who gives you health? Do you know the complexity of the proteins of your body? If one goes the wrong direction, then better have written a will, okay? Because if that, you're dependent on every single microscopic goings on in your body, which is made up of a trillion of these things. And so that's, have you seen the way they walk? These proteins carrying, I don't know, or one thing carrying a protein or something like that to the destination. It looks like a praying mantis walking down the street. Okay, I don't know if it's not a caricature. I don't understand that, but take a look. This is the world of science that's unveiled to us now for the first time in history. The Roman emperors, which had all the greatest libraries in the world, they didn't have knowledge of this in any capacity. But you do. And they wanted to know. Some of them were driven by more than just madness and the desire for power and megalomania. They weren't just driven by that. So what drives the Mitzvah Rebbe, the second Lubavitcher Rebbe, to scream and pour his heart out, pour his soul out? Masha Asa Reishim Adir Ala Shemim. This created a great impression upon those who heard him scream out like this. But it caused him physical ailment. Chalash halev ve'reya. He had, from the time of his youth rather, he had a weak respiratory system and a heart, whatever they're called, circulation system, like the heart and the respiration, which is the lungs. Ve'dibur b'srakshus halev hayapel l'ra av yosef. It negatively harmed his health to be so impassioned. So how important was it for the Mitzvah Rebbe to express his things with passion? Was he willing to offend somebody? Well, probably more than that. He was willing to risk his own health, and which means he wouldn't be able to have a positive, ongoing effect. So he knew that, but at that moment, remember we're talking about time being all in one moment. You have to throw everything into every moment. I don't care about tomorrow. I have to reach out to who I can today. One time after for bringing, when he was speaking about this tefillah, he got ill for days. And the elder Chassidim came to visit him. Why did you speak so fiery at your lecture, professor? Isn't that the way they approached him, like a professor? Okay, you don't have to do that. We'll write down your words. Well, it'll be a nice academic thing. We'll put it on our thing. I mean, these were not small people, and they came with all the right reasons. But I'm trying to put in terms that maybe you'll see that it doesn't mean just that sophisticated type of concern. But why were you willing to speak with such exertion? You should have been more concerned about your health. So you could see the importance of every moment. If you're sacrificing the future for the present has to contain the future within it. And the Mitzvah Rebbe knew this. So if he could trust that just as today he sort of squeaked by with health, tomorrow he'll also squeak by. He's got to take the chance, knowing that he has a partner in this deal. It's not just him alone. Right? You're shutaf with the Kadosh Baruch Hu, and that's your true identity. So they say this to the Mitzvah Rebbe. So the Mitzvah Rebbe says, this is based on today's Yom Yom, okay? It's a source that's similar. He gives the whole source, the original source, but it's the same idea. There's like a woodpecker outside. So I gotta shut the windows and go back to the air conditioning set up. If I can get my car to go back on. And if I try and drive, okay, there we go. Right, what an honor. Come and go as you please, but that's an honor. Thank you. So this is the Mittler Rebbe's response. Why do you talk with such passion when it's going to harm the future? You won't be able to inspire us tomorrow the same way you did today. If you give everything today, look how weak he was physically. Rahman al-Atzlan. We said his holy heart. This is a precious individual. This is a person who cares about every single Jew. That's someone worthy of your concern. Identify with people that are worthy and give them everything that you have. Why? Because that's what a relationship is. You give everything because you care about the other person. That's the Mittler Rebbe. He was sacrificing. Okay, he had to make a bit of it, a sacrifice. Like he had to melamed zchus, that he wouldn't know. He had to assume that everyone would make the same choice if they knew what he knew. If they had the purity that the Rebbe had, because he's imposing on them. They're concerned about his health for themselves also. So it seems like the Rebbe is imposing on the Chassidim because they feel that if his health is lacking, therefore, what are we going to have tomorrow? He was sick for days. He couldn't do what he was doing before. So even the Chassidim were lacking directly from this. So the Rebbe is, by having this approach, saying that I'm paying now. Yeah, I don't care about the future. Why? We'll worry about the future later. Now I have to reach out to you. It's like I'm in position in a sense. But it's a way that he's having faith that the chassid is a chassid. He ultimately is rooted in the Rebbe. And if the Rebbe knows that this is right, he knows that deep down they want it to. That they trust that it's worthwhile. That the Rebbe knows what he's doing, okay? So he can impose his view by having self-sacrifice that actually affects them in a negative way too. But what's his answer? Check this out. Hamli Salai Hadrachas Avrechim Amarli. Aifaidin bedarf men koken via state in Machshava Hakduma Da'ak. Regarding a Jew, you have to see that Jew as he stands in the primordial thought of Adam Kadmon, supernal man, primordial man. He's a thought in God's brain. God's mind. That's the way you see a Jew. Why? Because there's two ways a Jew could appear. One, as a sun. That's as he is in Machshava Hakduma Da'ak. What is the sun? Sunshine? It's the shine in your eye before you have a child. Right? Look at today's Tanya. Look what it says there. Okay, about the mayach. That's the source of the productive system is the brain. It's thought. Thought is son. S-O-N. That's a type of relationship with your father. It's a close personal relationship with the creator of the world. But that's the soul as it exists in God's thought. It's a soul. But when that soul comes down into a body, then it's considered Madregas Eved, a slave. So the Frierdiker Rebbe is saying about this story, I learned 4 things, and this is what he's saying. I saw the difference between the level of the soul that's a son and one's a slave. And this is one idea that the Frierdiker Rebbe learned from the Mittler Rebbe's story. The fact that he was willing to be self-sacrifice because you recognize that every Jew is Machshava Hakduma Da'ak. You have to see a Jew with that. What can I answer at first glance? How does he even answer the question? He says, basically he's saying, I know who you are. You're a ben of the king. You're a son. S-O-N. You're a ben. That's the way I see you. And therefore, I don't even care. I don't care just about you, but I see the future in you. Because we get to this whole idea that a person contains at this level of the thought, that's like the source of your soul, all the descendants that stem off from you spiritually in terms of how your soul affects other souls or other souls spark off from you, or your ideas even by extension. But also, in the physical sense, your descendants that come from you. You contain everything that's going to happen to them. It depends on you now because they're a product of what you do. In every aspect. Okay, you can go on at length in discussing it in what sense. So when you see everyone as a source for that, not just their present, who they are now, They are the past. They were in the thought of God, and then all the things that came out from you from there, and all the children that are going to come out from you. When I see how precious that is, I'm going to sacrifice my now because I see the future in you now. Okay? I'm going to sacrifice my future because I know your future. Your future is you're going to have so many children, you're going to interact with so many people, you're going to have influence on so many people, and I'm speaking to you now because you are an important thing. You're rooted in the essence of God, and therefore you have so much power. You resonate in so many levels, affecting so many people. That's worthy of him sacrificing his personal future for so many people's future, because that's how many people it affects right now. Okay, that's a bit complicated, but I think that idea is clear and important to take to heart. So I'm skipping around a little bit. It gets to this fascinating thing about imashpil and makabel be'emeshtem ke'echad. Truly, you have both aspects. Makabel me'misha l'mayla memenu, mashpil l'misha l'matu memenu. Everybody is both a leader and a follower at the same time. Everybody. Why? Because there's one guy that sits on his totem pole higher than you and one guy lower than you. So you listen to this one and you talk to that one. And you know what? The bottom person inspires the one at the top too. Okay? So it's all a circle and everybody influences everybody. Sometimes you have to depend on the heel to get you somewhere. Like they were in the heels of Mashiach, the Ikvus of Mashiach. Specifically now that everything's unfolding. The lowest part. The heels. The greatest person comes in the time of the lowest part, the expression of the lowest part, the lowest generation, because we're working on the most subtle aspects. We're not these big monsters that could be in the former times. It took 70 years to fix that. 70 years of exile. We're in thousands of years in the Roman exile. Thousands of years now. What's that all about? Because when you're sifting through such murky waters for like very tiny particles, not these giant, massive figures of history, like David and Melech, and I mean that's the good side, and you could have the bad side, and Menashe, like, I don't want to call Menashe bad, he has his redeeming qualities, he's going to be included too, but he had a rough life. He was a traumatic individual. He had a lot of dvekis b'marash chera, okay, which is what the snake is, the primordial snake that you have to go slay with the power of Raimahem. Okay, I spoke about that before. So what do we see this? Let's just jump around it a little bit. Okay, these are beautiful. I just want to... When I completed contemplating, oh, one second. I'm sorry, I have to back up one bit, because he says that this that you have to see a Jew as he stands in God's highest thought. It's not that you just see the other that way. You see yourself that way. That you are someone that is rooted in the very machshava keduma da'ak, the highest level of godliness. You have to see yourself that way. So people, when someone asks you, are you a Rashi? You think you're a tzaddik? Are you a Rashi? This is the way the Rebbe says you have to see yourself. What could be a greater proof than that? I mean, I've had this debate with so many people. And how do they go against these words? That's the way you have to identify. Identify as machshava keduma da'ak. You have to see yourself. This is what the Rebbe says. If he wasn't just talking about others. I see you that way. That's why I'm going to do this for you. I'm going to sacrifice myself for you. No. For myself, I see myself that way. I have future generations to inspire them, and everything depends on the single moment now. I want to teach him that lesson. So if it means that his health is going to be affected, and he's not going to live in long, chas v'shalom, or something like that, he was willing to make that sacrifice, because there's a lot that's upon his shoulders, a lot of responsibility, a lot of burden. The great responsibility that's placed upon my shoulders regarding influeing and educating people, the generations. I think that means that it made it possible, enabled, that I was able to lichloi es rigshes libi, lichloi, to harness to God. I don't know what it means. All the rikshes libi, the passion in my heart. Have shar hayali lichlai es rikshes libi. Lichlai. V'yesh v'ken yesh dem eid kama sipurim. Okay. But it goes on to say, Haker miktavi akol ishe, which is, I'm sorry, Nishash Bilubavitch, Bishnas. So, the Mitzvah Rebbe wrote a general letter to the Chassidim. Okay, he was like an editor, a magazine, and those, that's where they circulate a letter. In Tafkuf Ayin Dalid, Reyes Ha'eshel Ki, there you could see the godly fire, halahit, halayhet rather, ba'avas Yisrael, that burns with love of a Jew. Ba'adrachosam ubekirayvam la'aveda, in guiding them and drawing them close to serving God. Shebelev dvekis itim shebelev. Do the kvias itim lateram. Sorry, I'm reading wrong. So they have aveda shebelev, davening, and establishing times to learn Torah, kiyum mitzvahs beregesh, and fulfilling mitzvahs with passion, mitgefil, dechayas pnimi, and inner vitality and life. Okay. It quotes here the Mishnah and Sanhedrin in the real Hayom Yom, the full Hayom Yom, which was just in the story. It just appeared like a part of it, but it's to fill it out. It goes on to say like this. This is where it appears in the context when the Frierdiker Rebbe said this, because the Frierdiker Rebbe was telling a story about the Mittler Rebbe, so it was a bit confusing there. Ein Lashon Guzma, says the Frierdiker Rebbe. This is not an exaggeration. Ki im kenahu b'peo mamish. Ki im kenhu b'peo mamish. And agel lahar ben nefashis b'nei Yisrael kolachas v'achasi har ben nefashis. That this applies to Kamei Shem Rabbeinu Zaken. He's talking about something specific, but then he quotes the Alter Rebbe. It says in the Mishnah, whoever causes one Jew's life rather, to be sustained, they could live, you save the life. It's as if you sustained an entire world. So you have to see a Jew as he stands in the beginning of God's thought, because there's a lot that's going to come out from that Jew. You're not just reaching a Jew now. You're not just speaking to a Jew now. You're speaking now, affecting all the future that's going to come out from that person. So yes, it's worthy of a little self-sacrifice for the now. And this is why. Because you have to influence the future. But it's dependent upon the past, because you're seeing the person as he exists in the primordial thought of God. So there's a lot of potential there, a lot of generations to come out from there, a lot of influence that soul is going to have, and therefore we sacrifice the seeming future for the now and have trust. That's our matrix, is the trust that it's meaningful, our experience, that the suffering and the difficulty and even the worthwhile, and that being worthwhile for us, a person to have integrity and all the consequences of that at times, and reaching someone and trying to help another person, even if it means you're going to get thrown out of a Purim party or whatever once in a while. It's not the end of the world. You have to be able to risk that for another person, because you care about them and you have a vision, and yet no, you cannot impose on people. But there's a time and place, and there's an edelkeit, there's a sensitivity you have to do this with. So you figure that out. That's the dance of life, how you decide you're going to dance it. But dandelions, lions roar. Okay? Be like childlike enough to have the wonderment of the world, not holding on to traumatic mindsets. I mean, people make their trauma into a mindset. They identify as a traumatized person, so they feel compelled to have vakus to that mara. They cleave to that bitterness. That's what that type of trauma really embodies, is the snake that I described there, that he's the kaved, the bile. He has vakus to the bile, and its extension in his tail. I spoke about that length. It was too much to not just like sink your teeth into that. Good morning, Rabbi Finman. to sink your teeth into that image in the Tikkun Zayah, yes, that's worthy of producers spending $200 million on to make a film about and special effects. Why don't people have that foresight to do something holy with their talents and their money? Why? Use your time, use your energy to influence the world in a positive way and make your dreams come true. And they better be good. Don't care about not just yourself, care about other people and bring light to everyone's life. Okay, so if you want to define your sphere of influence, you only want to be very restrictive about it, okay, but welcome people into that environment then more. Push yourself a bit into that, like get out of yourself a bit. Live a little bit on the edge when it comes to adding light in the world. I'm not telling you not to go to the bar once in a while and wear anything but a white shirt. I'm not saying that. I'm saying be compelled to be a bit nicer than you want to be. And you know what? That will have a ripple effect and affect all the generations. That's the Machshava Dumadak. Okay, with that, I will bow out for the day. And you could talk now. I'm sorry if I missed any comments from before. Okay, people are quiet today. Maybe sometimes we want that quiet moments. Like, now my battery's not quiet. It keeps on interrupting. Sometimes we need that quiet moment. Like I like to roar in the mornings, and then in the afternoon, I'm a better listener in the afternoon because I'm just shutting up at that point. Sometimes you got to speak. Sometimes you got to be quiet. Doesn't it say that in Mishlei? Or is that Koheles? Okay, I'm getting mixed up now. Mishlei. Time to what? Time to speak, a time to shut up. We need that. Melilis. Chashmal. Chash, be quiet. Mal, to speak. That's lightning. The binary code of the Matrix. It's lightning. On, off, on, off. Mati v'lei mati. Ratza v'shev. It's an interesting world of Kabbalah out there. It makes life more rich for you. You see your life on different dimensions also. You identify, right? That's the word now. You identify on so many different levels. We identify in so many. I think that's so funny because the kids use it in such a specific way. That word now, it's taken on a different meaning. It means, how am I going to present? I'm going to say I'm an alien and I come from the planet of Orc. And that I need a special washroom that only teddy bears allowed there. And if you don't do that, I'm going to sue the city. Okay, I know I'm being insensitive now, aren't I? I didn't have that challenge of thinking I'm born an alien. What's the weather like? Sunshine, but it's hiding above the clouds. So there's a moment of the day that you just soar above the clouds and just throw everything into it. And then, yes, the Mittler Rebbe knew that he was going to be ill afterwards. He knew that, but it was worthwhile for him. I've seen Mashpim, they don't drink. These are not alcoholics. They never drink on their own, never. And they drink at a Farbrengen? Why? Because they like drinking? They hate it. I know people that have gout that drink. They hate drinking. Why do they do it? Because they're alcoholics? Maybe it's a bad example. I'm not telling you. I'm not discussing that. But they think that it's a willing self-sacrifice. They're not going to be able to function the next day. They're going to have a headache the next day. Why? Maybe it's wrong. Maybe it's wrong to do that. Maybe it's a horrible example. It's not the point. The point is they're willing to do something that they don't even like. Why? And it's harmful to them. And they're going to... Because they're like the Mittler Rebbe. Because they're students and disciples of the Mittler Rebbe. And everything in the Malam HaKaimis. All of the Rebbeim that took on the mantle of leadership, the throne of Chabad. Because that's the way we see it. As a real throne. In fact, it's way more real than any throne that's been in history. Way more real. It's David HaMelech's dynasty. Or dynasty. Okay, I've been brainwashed to say it differently. It's the dynasty of David HaMelech. That's what it is. Because if you I don't want to diminish it by giving an example that's going to diminish it. So let's just leave it at that. It's a royal, destined pedigree, is that the word? Royal dynasty. So the Rebbe's teachings are not just good teachings. Good, they're nice teras. They're geschmack tera. No. This is what was meant, destined to be communicated to us. The time of terror the Mashiach is going to bring, the Rebbe says, is being revealed right before Mashiach comes. And who's the Rebbe talking about if not himself? Who's the biggest, voice for the revealing secrets of the Torah? Maybe in history. Okay, so be prepared to sacrifice a moment in the future for a moment now, because tshuva is there's a power in a moment that's worthwhile having a little self-sacrifice for. Don't kill yourself. Stay alive to fight another day. Okay, but just push yourself a little bit. Don't be afraid of the fire. It's Hashem Eichlou. It's God that's... I don't know, maybe I got that a little bit wrong. I think I got it right. God is the consuming fire. You have no reason to fear. This fire that you're afraid of, it's a torch to light up the world. Don't be afraid of it. You're not going to get too close to it and be burnt up. Look who's holding the torch. Where's the fire coming from? It's Hashem Elikachol. It's Hashem. It is the merciful creator of the world. Okay, it's not a matrix that's a cold machine. It is it's our deity. Okay, deity is what El is all about, and it's actually the expression associated with tefillah, if I remember correctly. Okay, I learned a bit about that. I'm just ranting now because I said what I wanted to say. But tefillah, it's all about tefillah. So, rah tefillah, get into it. It's about davening. It's about prayer. That's what that's in my opinion what it comes down to. If you really want to accomplish something more than just like how many zeros in your bank account or how much food can you stuff into your gizzard. Something more, trust me. I want people to drive Menachem Foyer crazy, to go out with me again, go bowling with me and have a riot together, because I don't know, I'm really cocking in this idea of just being normal. We're putting on a pedestal. We're still doing it. We're putting on a pedestal with what I think is old school Chassidim. There's reasons for it. I respect them. I think that it's not the ideal approach for right now. I think that it's unfortunate that when we say Lubavitch light, it doesn't mean Light. That's the way they should see it as. Not chas. They might do. I should ask one of their card-carrying members. Is that the way you view it? How do you spell Lubavitch light? Are you a light? Do you really believe that what you're doing is the best? I think they do. I think they do, and I think I know why. They want to be inspired by someone that speaks their language. Don't impose a language on me that it's too old school for me. I speak a different language now. I've been exposed to this culture for so long. Yes, I haven't become, like if you're in a land where there's green people, like you live there 1,000 years, guess what? Your kids are going to end up green somehow. Just that, look where all the Jews lived throughout history and see how they look. They look like their host countries. Explain that to me. Okay, yes, I know how things work. But think about what it means here. One moose, two moose, eat you alive. Unga gunga galunga, have a great day. Okay? It all sounds like unga gunga galunga to you, right? Whatever. If you're just tuning in and you hear a weird phrase like that, you have no clue what I'm talking about. You'll say, this guy, he has a big nose and he's a weird dude. What are you going to think? I know that, but just something will drive you back if you're meant to hear this message. And you'll say, okay, oh, I see how it evolves. it actually becomes code for a whole talk. So I could refer to whole hour-long talks with a stupid phrase. That's why I do it. There are people that are trying to shut me up on a very strange basis. It's related to what I said before. Okay, I don't even want to talk about it. It's negative. So we'll end hands holding dandelions. Roar.